Good evening, everyone. I'm writer Coach Tony, and tonight I'm going to answer another question posed by one of the people who watch my videos. No, and it's a very common question. It's what are the questions during the defense? No, so what are the common questions teachers or supervisors ask during a defense? So, I can only speak for my own defense, and of course, what I've gathered also from my other friends and those who've shared their experiences with me regarding their defense. No, so these questions may not uh, apply to all, but at least it will give you an idea as to what type of questions your panel may ask you. So the panel, actually number one for me, it will depend on also on it will depend on who are sitting there, no? Because each of those panelists have an expertise. So usually there's one there whose expertise is language, no? The way you wrote your paper, your thesis, the way it's organized. So that's his or her job. Then maybe there's also one whose expertise is the statistics. No? So his or her job is to check on your statistics, no? The results, the methodology, stuff like that. And then usually those are the two things that really stand out for me. No? The one checking the language, and the one checking the methodology and statistics. No? And of course, the most important question they usually ask is, um, at least in my case, was what is the contribution, or oh yeah, what's the contribution of your study to to research, no? So that question you have to be prepared. So you have to think, what um, has my study found out that would help society, no? Um, and that's when you can go to your recommendations. Then you have to point out your conclusions and point out that these new conclusions um, apply to a certain group of people, no? Maybe to Filipino teachers, no? Or depends on your study, really. So that's one major question they ask. Now, what's the contribution of your thesis to research? No? And then I remember also being asked about the language. No? Why did you use this background of the study? Why did you introduce your topic by using this event? No, because right now there's a COVID-19 pandemic, so most of the studies will have that as the background of the study. No, so just be sure to connect your background of the study with your topic. No, because yes, I remember another important question they ask is the research gap. No, what research gap are you filling in your study? So make sure actually that's the first question they ask it. Um, what research gap did you find um, while doing your research? So you can start by telling them about what you um, found out in your lit review. No? So you say, in the studies that I've read, it's like this, like that, like that. But I realized and I observed that there has been no researches on this particular aspect of the topic. No? So make sure you know what your research gap is and what gap you're trying to fill, because it's actually very connected to the contribution. No? So you have a research gap, and then you researched it, and then you contribute to your research contributes to society, no? Whatever new knowledge it gives. Okay, so um, I remember they also asked a lot about the methodology, no? Like how many respondents did you reach, no? um, and how did you come up with that number? No? So you have to use a formula, the Sloven's formula. That was my formula a long time ago, but right now I heard they're using another formula. But it basically um, takes into account the population, no, of your study. So from the population, you choose a certain sample, and then you stick with that number. Sometimes you don't reach that number, then you have to explain why. You know, maybe you just say logistics is difficult. It's difficult to reach everyone. Um, but now with the online setting, you can actually reach more respondents. No, but you have to remind them to answer properly, so that your results will come out. Um, what do you call that? More organized, no? Than, and they get to answer all the questions. Make sure they answer all the questions. Um, so you have to explain why did you choose that methodology. No? So be sure you have a ready answer for that, um, because there are so many types of research design. Um, there are no um, yeah, each of you will have different forms of research design. So you have to defend why you decided on this research design. Um, just be frank, no? Because the reality is you don't really have the whole our whole lifetime to study. So that's why we limit our studies within a certain time frame and within a certain number of respondents, because we do not have the time element, no, to do everything we want to do. So um, that's why you have to explain. I chose this methodology because it allows me to get data faster. No, if you're doing qualitative methodology, you also have to explain why you chose these interviewees. No? So I always tell my students to choose, if you're having to interview someone, please choose the best quality people, um, because these are the people who can give you the answers you want. Because if you just choose no, pipichuging, with no real knowledge of your topic, you might be wasting your time, and then you realize that you don't have the results you want. No, because here the results will come from the respondents, will come from the interviewees. So if you're doing interview or case studies, make sure your case study is perfect, no, or can give you the data that you need. No? So they're going to ask you, why did you choose this person, this person? No? What criteria did you have? No, so that's, I remember they asked me that. So the methodology part is important, and then they also ask, why did you choose this statistical formula? Why did you choose ANOVA? Why did you choose multiple regression? Why did you choose linear regression? So just explain, no? There are reasons anyway why you use those formulas, why those formulas are the best formulas to use when you analyze, because it would depend on your raw data, no? It would depend if you're going to get means, if you're going to get frequencies. So there are proper statistical formulas for that. Or if you're analyzing variables, the relationships, so all of those, you can explain it. By explaining it, you can defend why you chose that statistical formula. No? So again, methodology, they ask, what statistical formula? How do you do your sampling? So just explain that if you did snowball sampling, random sampling, purposive sampling. Actually, there are several types of sampling. So you have to explain why you chose that type of sampling. In my case, I chose snowball because with snowball sampling, um, it's referral, no? So this person refers another person to you, so you're sure that the person they're referring is really qualified to answer, especially if your study is very specific to a certain type of um, expertise, no? Not everyone is an expert on this thing, no? On whatever you're studying. So with snowball sampling, I limit my sample to to those who are experts in the field that I'm studying. That's why I chose snowball sampling in my study before. So you have to defend that. So whatever sampling you chose, um, you have to have a ready answer for that. And then of course you have to know um, your conclusions, your recommendations. Why did you come out with those recommendations? Um, how did you test your hypothesis? No, so but that's the easy part because it will show the statistics. So they're more interested in your analysis, no? Because you can just say there is a significant difference between this variable and this variable. So I know ngayon, no? So you have to analyze, no? Why did that happen? I remember in my study also they asked about the demographic profile, no, of my respondents. What is a general description, no? So you can say they're mostly women between these ages. They have lots of experience already, 10 years or more. No? So the idea there is for them to know that the respondents you chose really have the requisite knowledge, no, about your topic. Because otherwise, if they're just like 1 or 2 years experience in your field of study, they may not have the experience needed not to give input into your study. So make sure at least even your respondents should be quality, no? So yeah, it's just relax. Make sure you know every single page of your paper, because when they ask you what is this part, so at least you have an idea that that's page 78, no, or that's page 55, no, because you know as you prepare for your defense you'll be reading and reading your thesis again and again. So you'll kind of remember where that table is. um, Usually they ask about the tables, why you chose this table, why is the presentation this way, you know. The language teacher will do that, no. They'll ask you why did you choose these types of graphs, um, why this design of the table. So the goal always is to present the data in the most clear way, no. Na isang tingin lang ng teacher, alam niya, okay, this is the results, no. So make sure, and then make sure under your tables you put the statistics, that is the statistical formula that was used. If you're using quantitative methodologies, so you put there if you're using correlation, and then you put the significance level, and the amount and the number, no, the magic number that will show if it's significant or not, so that your supervisor will not search anymore in any tables. No? It's there already. So well, just pray and then practice. You're usually given 10 minutes, no, 10 to 20 minutes PowerPoint presentation of your study. I just did, I think, 20 slides in my case. Most of them were the results, no, like 12 were the results. The rest were introduction, lit review, methodology. But the meat of the PowerPoint slide was the results of the study, and I chose the most intriguing results, no? Because that would keep their interest. No? It would always be interesting if your results are something new, no? Something exciting for them, no? Not something that they already know. Make sure to have enough sleep, and make sure you know your thesis in and out, and everything. Um, and then just be calm. If you don't know the answer, just make sure that the question is related to your study, or it's still within the scope. Because the truth is, if you don't know the answer, then you can just say, I believe that question is not part of my study, no, because and then you go to your limitations, no. Just say the limitations of your study, because I only included these variables in my study. I did not include that, no. So sometimes they'll come out with trick questions just to throw you off. So to be able to do that, you should know your study clearly. If it's not there, then most likely it's not part of your study, no? And then you can just say, that's why I put in the recommendations that for future researchers, they can do this, do that, do that. No? Or if it's something new, you can just say, I'll make revisions and then I'll just add that point, no? That future researchers can research on that part, no? The one the supervisor asks a question about, no? So if there are questions which you think are trick questions or questions which are not part of your study, then you use the card, the limitations, and the future researchers, no? What future researchers can do. Um, yeah, I think that's it. If I missed something, and if you want to share your experience on your thesis defense, you can make a comment, no? So you can help other people as well, no? Because it's not it's a very scary uh, it's a very scary experience because your panel is composed of the most smart people in your college. Um, so make sure also you go over your thesis with your supervisor so that he can also warn you what parts they might ask questions about. But in my case, I remember it's really their expertise. No? If the expertise is language, that's what they really ask. If the expertise was statistics, that's what they really ask. So if you know the composition of your panel and you know where their strengths are, most likely that will also be their questions. No? So get to research the backgrounds of your panel so you would know how to prepare for any question they will give you. So with that, below this video, can you add me in your no, can you follow me in my Facebook, my Twitter, and my Instagram, and then please subscribe to my channel, Writer Coach Tony. If you have any other questions or any reactions, feel free to ask me and contact me through my social media. Thank you, everyone, and take care. Keep safe.